Today's tough question is on YouTube. You can vote. Looking back, how did Josh Heupel handle the Vols quarterback situation? 53% say perfectly. 35% say, okay, Nico should have played. 12% say poorly. Josh, I give you those three choices. What would you say?
Sorry, this is for the season?
Yes, to this point.
Yeah. I think he's handled it well. I think over the course of the season, Josh Heupel has figured out what he's comfortable with the offense, calling based on quarterback play, based on offensive line play, in pass protection, and based on the strength of the running game. So it took some time to figure out, but part of that is around the quarterback. All the calls, all the planning is not only about who's playing that position. It's about replacing Darnell Wright and Jerome Carvin, but Joe was their guy. They knew that. He didn't play up to the level maybe where they hoped he might reach at the start of the season. And it's 6-2 in the way the offense, I believe, has come on, including Joe's added running element to the offense has been a positive. So I think he's handled it well.
Okay, but you didn't answer today's tough question. Perfectly, poorly, or okay, Nico should have played. Perfectly?
Oh, wait. So he could have handled it okay, but that also includes Nico playing? Like, I don't think that would have been a good idea. So if I'm choosing between the two, then I would say perfectly, because if it's okay, I don't think it would have been okay to play Nico alongside Joe. I think that would have been poorly.
It is so funny how we're so split on this. I think Jimmy Himes, who we have on Wednesdays, like kind of down the middle. I think John Adams is like running him out there for a couple of series in the first half every week. And you're on the other side. I don't know who's right. Me, I would have played him. I wouldn't have played him in the first half ever, but I would have played him some more in meaningful snaps in the second half. Caleb, so you got to answer the question before we kind of dissect what Josh said there.
I'm totally on Josh's side. I think it was perfectly. And I was one who broached this topic because I wanted to revisit last week with Dave's, Gaston Moore should get out there and play. And
I said simply that Gaston Moore could have done the same thing as. Let me ask Josh this.
Would Gaston Moore have beaten Kentucky, Dave?
Josh, well, we said it before Kentucky.
Thank you, Caleb.
Josh, let me ask you, could Gaston Moore before the Kentucky game have done the same thing that Joe Milton did to that point?
Are you talking about record-wise? Because we did address this last week, and I still thought that it was absurd. I don't know if they sell them on Amazon or if I can find a local shop. I love supporting local businesses. If any of them make a big L, I will try to buy it and have it shipped to you, because you've earned it already at this point on your gas tank.
I love this.
Okay. Well, I tell you what can help you, and it's local and it's online. The premier hemp dispensary online, Hemp House, with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Using Josh's analogy,
sounds like you went over the recommended dosage from the Hemp House based on your Gaston Moore take.
Yes.
With all due respect, the worst thing I felt about that last week was anybody who knows Gaston Moore, like, I don't mean to knock him, but all of a sudden he's out here just catching what would appear to be insults based on an unfair comparison. But I didn't know that the season was 7 games. I didn't know that they would just plan to play through the Alabama game and that's it for the season. I could have sworn there was a Kentucky game. And I can't remember who they played this week, and then Missouri and Georgia and Vanderbilt. So excuse my inaccurate breakdown of the schedule for the Vols this season.
You can check out the Big Orange Crunch, which is right here, which we developed for you. Use the promo code HOOKED. Use the promo code HOOKED to get 10% off at Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hashtag Josh hates Gaston.
By the way, this is a fair comment. And I don't know how hurt he was, but he obviously was not 100%, and he was affected. But there's a comment after Joe took that hit against UTSA. Nico could have gone in and played there. Remember, Joe was having a good game. Then he was awful for a stretch. Couldn't complete a pass. He definitely had to rehab after that hit. So to try to get ready for South Carolina, then he did. Then he got a break. But that could have been a time to play Nico, but because of injury to Joe, for sure.
No, I thought so too. That would have been the time, and you would have had the backdrop, Josh, of no, you're not making a change. You're not throwing Joe under the bus, but he had the injury, and you could see what you got out of Nico a little bit.
Remember, Nico went in late in that game. He didn't get much time against UTSA, and officials, by the way, missed a call there, but got his neck turned around when they grabbed his face mask. Now that was not behind the first team offensive line, but that was not a great experience for Nico. Hopefully, he gets a better one this week.
So will we see Gaston more this week?
Was it UT Martin? Which game they play a ton of quarterbacks last year? Maybe, probably not, but it's up to the starters, as I wrote for you on the website.
Yep, that's exactly right. So let's go ahead and get your prediction, Josh. How do you see this game shaking out? I mean, Tennessee's going to win, but and your column was great. You picked the exact 5 that I would have picked on offthehooksports.com. But of those, which do you think are most important, or which do you feel are most confident will happen? Let's kick that around for a second.
Well, I would expound on the pass rush and just say I think the defense will go out there and have a dominant day. I think the offense will do well. I do think they'll score more touchdowns and score quickly. So I think we'll be at the start of or the middle of the second quarter and be having the conversation of, okay, when do the backups get in? How much will we see, Nico? I think they're going to go out there, play well early, and get a big win.
Yeah, I think Tennessee was a little afraid of Kentucky's running game. So they played a lot of zone to be facing the line of scrimmage, and they didn't really zone blitz much at all. I think they can, Caleb, I really believe they can dial up pressure anytime they want to.
Yeah, I think so too. And I thought that was kind of the other thing I meant to mention to Josh outside of the holding penalties was it did seem like the focus for them was not letting Ray Davis go off. Now, again, they decided we'll let Devin Leary try to beat us throwing from the pocket. And if he does, we'll shake his hand. And Devin Leary played as well as he could possibly play doing that. And I think they were willing to let that happen to make sure that Ray Davis didn't go off. It very much reminded me of the Florida game last year when Anthony Richardson had over 400 yards, where they weren't really focused on bringing as much pressure in that game. I don't think I think this week they're going to turn it loose. Taquan Robinson is the only reason they might not get a lot of sacks is Jim Mora Jr. Anybody who followed him with the Falcons knows he will force the West Coast offense on any quarterback he has whatsoever. And Taquan Robinson is the guy that he's going to force that on now, despite the fact that Robinson is more of a runner and is completing 57% of his passes. So,
Josh, if you could have any, and Josh is on Noon to 3 of the Sports Animal. Josh, if you could have any coach on your program to answer completely honestly any question that you would come up with. Okay, so he has to be on typical radio segments, about 12 minutes. You got 12 minutes with him, and he has to be honest. He can't filibuster. Where would Jim Mora rank on that list?
Jim Mora's pretty good with his history in the sport. I mean, right now, Jim Harbaugh's number 1. But beyond that, yeah, I don't know. Mora's a big name. He's had a kind of a weird path in the sport, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
His time with the Falcons and the Vic connection there. Was he with the Seahawks for 1 season and then UCLA? So plus his dad's history, I'm sure he's got some stories there. So yeah, Jim Mora would actually rank quite high.
He would rank high? Okay. So yeah, you'd rather have him than
because I think I'd get some really good stories.
Okay. You'd rather have him than Nick Saban?
No, total honesty, Saban would be probably top 3 to 5. But I would have some of his, like Lane would be higher than Saban because Lane might even know more than Saban about what has gone on in Saban's time. Jimbo would be very high because he already knocks on the door of honesty. He tried last summer and then decided to close it back real quick.
How about Butch Jones? First question out of the chute. Welcome back from the break. When did you realize you were a sociopath?
No, Butch has always been honest. Like when he told us about Shy Tuttle falling on a helmet, and he told us that's the truth.
I met with Jimmy Himes yesterday, and that discussion came up again of how absurd that was.
Yeah.
Josh, I got to be honest. Butch Jones got exposed as such a bad liar and such a sociopath. Do you remember that 2017 team where fans were actively rooting for Tennessee to not just lose, but get blown out each week because they wanted to see Butch Jones humiliated?
It was a tough year. was a tough year. My favorite part about that season was actually I believe it was in August. It was preseason camp, where at the end of practice, Butch Jones says to Patrick Brown, "Hey, if you catch a punt from Trevor Daniel, then I'll open up half the scrimmage for the media." And Patrick, very confident, he's sneaky athletic, said, "Okay." He ran over there and easily caught the punt. And of course, no scrimmage was ever open for the media.
Nah. But there's some good Butch Jones stories for sure. Josh, you want to throw out a score prediction?
Are they going to score 50? I will say 52-7.
52-7. My favorite Butch Jones story, really quickly, is when I've told Caleb this, but I haven't told you this, Josh, is when a dad of a current player called and said, "You don't know me, but I follow your work, and I just want to know," and I wasn't the only person he called, "I just want you to know that if my son gets charged with assault, that it's because he's constantly berated by Butch Jones, and there's a chance my son will knock him out."
Yeah, I mean, he had at least one reported incident with a player. So, yeah, it's a tenure that probably could have gone better in the end when I look back at it.
And this is not even the player that I think you're thinking about.